You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday night session. How's everybody doing? I am in my RV. We are in Florida, and we're actually in Destin. Does anybody know Destin? We're in Destin right now, gonna go to the beach, hang out for a little bit, but in the process of moving down here and finding a house to buy. That's what we're doing right now. So, and everybody's like, don't buy any houses right now, but let's see what I can come up with. Maybe I can get something good, you know? What do you think? Is now the time to buy a property or not? I'm not sure. To buy a house? I don't know. We're looking. We're going to see what we can come up with. And our facilities in Florida are like in the panhandle of Florida. Actually, they're kind of in that, like is it the armpit? What do you call it? Like the little area, kind of like right in that area. And like from Tallahassee over to kind of like right that area, like it just doesn't the hurricane does not hit as much. You know what I'm saying? So here, let me share my screen. You see, so Tallahassee's here. And it's like, I guess it's like the armpit of the Florida is right here. And this area, honestly, in Tallahassee's like in an hour inland anyways. And so are our properties. So it rains, but like nothing ever really happens in this area, honestly. So, you know, I think in 2017, Tallahassee got hit. But it wasn't really like everybody think it wasn't too bad because they're so far inland, right? They're not on the water like all the other properties and stuff that happened down here. We were actually supposed to be in Fort Myers. We were supposed to be in the Keys right now. And supposed to be down here hanging out in the Keys, but we canceled that because we closed on a property and then we just had to be in that property, at that property. So, but anyways, okay, so now what we're going to do today, since the people are starting to come on, is we're going to talk. We've been doing for the last 9 or 10 weeks, we've been going through all of my different facilities that we own. We have 12 of them, and we're on number 10, and which is going to be Valdosta. And that one is here, right here is where it's at. And so I'm going to go through the process of how we, found it, funded it, and we're running it now. And then you guys can at least hear the story. And the title of today's session is looking for facilities in like tertiary markets of secondary markets. All right. So obviously you could see right here that Valdosta has 75,000 people in it. All right. So for me, a primary market would be maybe 200,000 plus, or, I'd say primary market is 100,000 plus, maybe 150. I'm not sure. It depends on whether or not there's like REITs and stuff. So for instance, we're moving to Tallahassee. And if you click on Google Maps and then you just search, storage Tallahassee, and Tallahassee has 200,000 people. Okay. And so now you could start looking at all the facilities and seeing, are there REITs? And obviously you can see there's an extra space storage here. Right. But then when you start really looking at all these storage facilities, even though you really just see one extra space, you see Storage King, which is kind of it's a primary market. It's like a secondary to primary market player. And there, when you click on these facilities, you can see obviously this like big, huge storage facility. It's got two levels. And you can click on, start looking. There's a Storage King here. Storage King really likes Tallahassee. That's for sure. Look at that. Storage King, Storage King, Storage King. And let's see, there's an Otter. Oh yeah, I've driven by this one. Otter self-storage is here. And that one doesn't, oh yeah, see, now you can see this one, right? So this like big, huge, massive storage facility here. So a primary market is just big players, big facilities, big players, right? And Tallahassee has 200,000 people. So for me, honestly, 100,000 or more, I consider primary market. I really don't even look at these markets. And then a secondary market is like 25,000 to 100,000. And so then we'll go over to Valdosta here, and Valdosta has 75,000 people in it. And that may even be too big for a lot of people, right? So we'll search storage near Valdosta, and so then you can start looking at them. But when you start looking at these, like you see this, like you see 10 Federal Storage. If y'all know 10 Federal Storage, they are it's not a REIT, it's a fund. And they raise like $20-30 million. They go out and buy storage. They either buy them and they fix them up, and then they make it like super nice. But they're really like secondary market players. Okay. Like you don't see any CubeSmart or Extra Spaces really in a secondary market. You'll see a lot of just like one owner, and they may be bigger facilities, but they may also be smaller facilities. All right. So we have our facility is it's in Valdosta, but it's in what I call the tertiary market of Valdosta, right? So obviously when you look at Valdosta, this highway here kind of like circles where it's at, right? And then, this is the town. And, so we really actually we've called every single storage facility owner in this town, but they're all kind of like bigger players. And, let's see, that's a car that might be parking. I'm not sure, but, and then we've called them all and asked them if they wanted to sell. But the one that we ended up buying was actually just a little bit out. And let me see, it's right in here somewhere. Let me see, search this area. Here's Miss Lillian's right here. Okay. And so you could see, and then we have like right across from us is Kingsgate. And actually Kingsgate's kind of like a bigger player, not a bigger player, but they have like bigger, it's a bigger facility. Actually, let me show you what the satellite view looks like on this. You see, so here's our facility, a little tiny thing right here, it's all right here. And then here's this Kingsgate. Obviously you could tell it's like this monstrous, huge storage facility. And I think they have like 3 or 4 locations. All right. And so I honestly really don't even consider them a competitor. I mean, we look at their prices and see what they're charging, but we don't charge as much as they do, because obviously we need to be a little bit more competitive. And so this is Miss Lillian self-storage. Now this is I would consider this like a secondary to tertiary market. Now, obviously when you drive from Valdosta up this road, it's like 5 minutes. Like it's not really honestly that far to get here. Okay. And, or maybe 10 minutes. I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure how much it is. Probably not even probably 5 minutes. And because everywhere you go in Valdosta is like 15 minutes to get there. So, but I want you guys, when you're thinking about where to look for storage, to consider tertiary markets of secondary markets. So that's the whole point of this webinar, is to really just kind of show you that you guys all know now, tertiary market is 25,000 or less population. Of a secondary market is like 25,000 to 100,000. And then you have primary like 100,000 or more. Okay. And so then you can really start kind of zooming out and looking wherever you're located, whatever your area is located. What we do is we pull up the population of Georgia by county, or not by county, by city. And all right, so then you have this one right here, the georgiademographics.com. And there's one of these for every state. All right, so you pull this up and take a look at it. And And then you'll start looking through, I mean, essentially looking at, let me see, where's Valdosta? Yes, see Valdosta. Valdosta only has 55,000 people, but I think the metro area has 75,000 people. And so it's not like a super huge big town, you know, but it's a good sized town. So you want to be looking at the like cities that are not connected to primary market. All right, not connected to primary market. And you know, on the outskirts of secondary market. That's really what you want to do. So, you know, when I look through here and I'll say, hey, there's a let's see, there's Noonan, Peachtree Corner. Like I know Peachtree Corners is like a suburb of Atlanta, really, right? Mableton, I can't remember where Mableton is. That sounds kind of familiar. Let's look and see. Mableton, Georgia. Okay, so Mableton's like, okay, Mableton's here is where it's at. So that's kind of a suburb of, that's a suburb of Atlanta, you see. So, but if you go, let's see, what's Villa Rica? What's the population of Villa Rica? I'm not sure. Because I know that's kind of a, yeah, Villa Rica, 17,000 people. That's a little town. Let's see what, oh, St. Mary's only has 18,000 people. Man, that's interesting. Fayetteville is where I used to live, has 19,000 people. Right. And you want to just really get to know like the towns and just find these little tiny towns in your state that could be secondary markets. How big is Athens? Let's see. Here's Athens right here, 128,000. So that's kind of a bigger one. They probably have like a lot of, let's see, do they have like, let's do storage, Athens. Okay. Yeah, so when you look at this, you can see there's not going to be like any big, there's not any big box companies here, right? And so 128,000 people is not big enough. Well, actually, looks like there's one extra space. It's not big enough for like all these hedge funds to come in. Oh, it looks like they are coming in. Okay, so I would consider this primary market then. This is primary market. And this would be a little bit too big. See, it's only 128,000 people and it's already primary market. They're coming in, people, all these hedge funds coming in and taking over. Let's see what else we could do then. You know, I would look around. I would probably be in these areas outside here is where it'd be then for Athens. Athens is too big. What else is a good town that we could look at? I don't know, but these are probably all small towns, honestly. There's not like a huge, oh yeah, what about Albany? How big is Albany? Let's see, I think that's kind of, Albany is 69,000 people. Albany's bigger than Valdosta. Man, that's weird. So I need to be looking in Albany, actually. So I would be like here in Albany, I would just be like in these little tiny towns and all around here, just calling all the different owners. So Albany, Georgia, storage. Okay. So yeah, there's simple safe self-storage, and there's you know, Storage Rentals of America. All right, Simple Safe has a couch in the as the main picture. So obviously they have no idea what they're doing for management. Okay, here's Simple Safe right here. So it's kind of a bigger facility, but I bet in this area here, there's some probably good ones here. I'm not sure. We'll have to look through. Albany mini warehouses. You know, when they have like a horrible picture like this, you should be like calling them. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, because like, why would they obviously have no idea how to manage their Google, you know, business listing here. Okay. So anyways, and so then I would be like all up in this area, secondary market, but definitely in the tertiary markets. Like we could go here and just search this area and see if there's anything like Philema storage. Yeah, Philema. But this looks like a good one. Let's see. Oh, it's got some indoor storage. Oh, it's got a little commercial. It's got a motorcycle. Okay. That'd be a good one. Let's see what else. And then Finish Line storage is here. Finish Line. Let's take a look at Finish Line. That looks nice. So it's got a huge big office for like 2 buildings. I'm not understanding why they have a big office. But let's see here. Okay, so let me satellite image this thing here. Is this it maybe? Maybe it's just off or something. I'm not sure. And then you could just like kind of just drop down and take a look. Yeah. So it's got some, yeah, here's the building right here. Let's go over here. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Okay. So it looks like it's got some indoor, maybe. This might be indoor, and then it's got some parking. I just call them up and see if they're interested in selling. When you're looking through and using Google Maps, I mean, Google Maps just really is so valuable to look for facilities, right? And then, it gives you such a good idea of like what you can do. Look, simple, safe storage is just like a little tiny facility here. And and then what you could do. So I'm using now Crexy. I was going to tell y'all about this too, and you guys can get my discount. I was going to offer this to everybody if you're interested in getting my discount in Crexy. Let me show you kind of what Crexy does. And it's super powerful. It's more expensive if you don't go through me. Okay, so actually like Crexy. Yeah. So Crexy has like an investor section to it that nobody really knows about, and except for my students. We're all using this now. And so you can just put the address in now to Crexy. Let's see, what address was this that we were at? Simple Safe. Let's do Simple Safe. Okay. This is the address. Where's the address? Right here. Copy. Let me see if this comes up in Crexy because it's kind of a weird one. Yeah, see, it doesn't come up because it's kind of weird. Let's try to find something else. Yeah, let's try to find like a normal. Let's try to find a normal address here. And store more buildings. No, we're not going to do that. Sunbelt business. Bushes self-storage right here. Okay, this is a big one here. And Bushes here. Oh gosh, this is also a crazy address. Let's not do this one then. Let's get like a normal address somewhere here. Royal Storage. Come on, Royal. Okay, here's a good one. Okay, so let's go into Crexy. Look like it's coming up. Let me just find Albany here. Let's try to find it this way. Oh, Georgia. And here it is. Okay, so now when I pull up Albany, Georgia in Crexy, what it does, and then you can find all the comps. You can find all the comps for like every storage facility that's ever sold since the 1960s pulls up in Crexy. Okay. And then you can start really taking a look at them and seeing. So for instance, like this one right here sold for $70,000. And this is the Philema one that we just saw, right? So you can see that he's owned this since 1997. So he's ready to sell, this guy, right? And then it actually gives you the owner's address. So here's the owner. His name is Donald David. And then you click on it and it gives you 6 results for he lives in Texas, y'all. This is a good one. He lives in Texas. Or maybe jurisdiction Texas. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe Texas is something in Georgia. I'm not sure. And he lives in Austin, Texas. Isn't that crazy? And so here's his phone number right here. So we could call him up, ask him if he wants to sell. This would be a good one. And then, let me click this. Now, sometimes it even gives you the email address. It's not here now. It's giving you 6 different results of like what it could possibly be. So essentially you would have to call, you just call every phone number and see if it's and then what's really good is sometimes it gives you the email as well too. If they do have an email, it's here as well. So we use this to find essentially what we do for Crexy is we use it to find comps and also, and I'm gonna eventually one day I'll have Grant come in and do a demo of Crexy, because obviously I'm not gonna be able to do it as good as he is. But essentially you can do comps of all storage facilities. You can do comps of all storage facilities. Obviously, you can look on Crexy for sale, for sale property. But we use it for comps, and then we also use it for skip tracing. Okay. And so if y'all are interested, y'all are more than welcome to. It's $100 a month with my discount. It's more money if you go through Crexie itself. But it's $100 a month for access to Crexie. So if you're interested in getting access to Crexie, then just email us at Stacy at not Stacy, sorry, questions@stacyrossetti.com. And that's our email. And then I can introduce you to Grant, and then he can help you to get the, you have to pay for a year in advance for Crexie. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. He'll give you a demo and stuff, but you have to pay for a year in advance. So essentially you have to come up with $1,200 to get it. Okay. So it's not $100 right now. Okay. But we've been using this now for a while, and I'm going to tell you, it works so good. And I love that it gets emails as well too, because what we do is, like, for every property that we find, we keep the email, and then we can put them on like an email campaign too. Okay. So I think this is awesome. So I wanted to show this to y'all so y'all could use it. But also, so when you're looking for property, like for instance, we're looking in Albany for Royal Storage or Lock and Leave or whichever ones. Let's see, I got back in here for Albany. You can just learn so much about a property when you're just playing around with this. I just love this so much. But so now we're here. And so now we can really start looking at, all the facilities and getting all the information. So this one right here is it sold for $881,000. And it was a 3-property portfolio, 550 units for $880,000. Oh, it sold in 2020. Man, that's a good deal. That was a great deal. Whoever got that one, who got it? Let's see. So, it's worth a lot of money. This thing is probably worth like $5 million. But we could contact the owner and see if he wants to sell on this property here. It's probably because it's three properties that it's probably you have to dig a little bit here and try to find the owner. History. It gives you all the demographics. It gives you so much stuff, right? See everything here. So anyways, I would just email questions@stacyrossetti.com, and I'll introduce you to Grant if you want to get a demo. And a lot of my students have already signed up and are using this. It's super valuable. And I love that it has the flood risk, because we're in the process of buying a property right now. And I was like, is this like in a flood zone? It ended up being in a flood zone. I was like, man, I'm so glad I knew that. Right. So it gives you a whole bunch of good stuff. But okay, so now Valdosta. So basically, Valdosta or Albany is a secondary market, right? You want to find secondary markets and look into secondary markets to see if, there's any deals that you can find there. And if they happen to be too expensive, like if you can't find a deal, like I just can't afford a secondary market, then what you do is you look for a property that is like, it's around the secondary market. So I call it the tertiary market of the secondary market. I don't know what you would really call it, but that's what I call it. Okay, so maybe like even here in Putney, let's zoom in here, search this area, and let's do Putney, Georgia. Storage near Putney and Williamsburg. There's like no storage facilities that come up in this area for some reason. Maybe it's just like a weird area or what? Maybe they're just little tiny towns. But yeah, you could look through. I would just get into Google Maps and then just look around and see if you can find some storage virtually. Like this, I'm not sure. This looks like maybe it's like some warehouses here, but it may be storage. You could always stop. You could always drop in and just see. Flying around everywhere. Industrial coatings. Okay, yeah. So he has this little warehouse in the front. Oh, look, man, too easy. Look, storage right there. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, he probably owns this. And he's like, hey, I have some extra land. Let me just throw some storage units up. That's what he's thinking. But see how easy it is? Just got to get out there and look virtually. All right. And then what you could do is you could get into Crexie and you could pull the information up on this property, and it will give you the phone number and sometimes the email, and you try to contact the owner and see if they want to sell. All right. That's the process that we use to find pretty much every single one of our facilities going, nowadays. All right. Now, the story behind Valdosta is the story behind Valdosta. I was reading the comments, is that I hired my very first acquisitions person, Chris, to work for me and to like take over acquisitions because I just couldn't keep up with, we had too much money and not enough facilities to buy. So I hired an acquisitions person, and I was taking him out and driving for storage, because essentially that's all I ever, up until I hired all my virtual assistants, that's all I did was just drive for storage to find all my facilities. And so I took him out driving for storage. And I remember I lived up in like the North Georgia mountains, but I was like, you know what? Like, I want to get down into like the nitty gritty of Georgia and really like learn about, the South of Georgia. And I wanted to really buy something near the water is what I wanted. So we drove all around, like from Valdosta to the water. Essentially, we drove down to Valdosta, stayed in Valdosta. I rented us like some hotel rooms. And then we drove all around that area from like Valdosta to the water. And then I came, like we drove, and I had Chris looking for property, right? So, his homework was to find property for me to go drive, to kind of do a little path. And that's what he did. He kind of like, we drove around, and here's Valdosta. So we came down to 75, and we drove like all the way up here. We drove all through here, all this whole area. We just drove it for like 2 days straight. And we hit like 50 different storage facilities. All right, along the way. And one of the facilities that we found was the one in Valdosta, because we drove and went and looked at all the different facilities in Valdosta. And so what happened was I called the owner, and Chris was in the front seat with me, and I called the owner, and it was like, I called the facility, and I was like, hey, and actually it was so funny because the person that answered the phone was like the property manager, and this facility does not need a property manager. And that's another thing too, is like when you answer the phone, it's like a small facility and they have a property manager, that means that the owner don't want anything to do with that property, right? So you got to try to figure out how to get a hold of the owner. But so the lady called, and when I called the lady, just on the sign, I just called the number on the sign. And when she answered it like this, hello? That's how she answered the phone. And I was like, ooh, this can be a good one. And I was like, hey, I was trying to find out information about your storage facility. And she was like, oh, like you want a unit or what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, maybe, I don't know, tell me about it, like the units and stuff. And I was like, do you have anything available? And she's like, I don't really know. She's like, I'm going to have to go there and take a look. And I was like, this could not get any better, honestly. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. And I was like, actually, I'm really interested in buying it. I was like, do you think the owner would sell it? Because I'm like right here in front, and I'd be interested in talking to the owner about buying it. And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, maybe. She's like, here's his phone number. And she just like gave it to me. And so I called the owner, and the owner answers the phone. His name was Sammy. And he was like, that's how he answered the phone. And I already knew that he was like, I could just tell he was like old and couldn't hear. And I was like, Sam, is that you, Sammy? He's like, yeah, this is Sammy. And we started we were like yelling at each other on the phone. I was like, who's this? And I said, this is Stacy. I was like, I talked to your property manager and I got your phone number from her. And I want to buy your storage facility. I was like, would you be interested in meeting me? I'm right in front of your storage facility right now. And he was like, I want 270. No, he said, I want $300,000. That's what he said. I want $300,000. And I said, okay. I said, I'll buy it for $300,000. And I didn't know anything about it. I was just like, yeah, I'll buy it for $300,000. That sounds good. Would you be interested in meeting me? I can meet you right now if you're interested. And he said, yeah. He said, I live right around the corner. Come over to my house. And that's essentially how the conversation went. And so Chris and I drove over to his house and got out, and it's older guy, probably 88 years old. And his wife was on like on a trip or something. So it's just him by himself. And I was like, Samuel, I was like, nice to meet you. I'm Stacy. And I said, this is Chris. This is my acquisitions manager. And he said, okay, nice to meet you. He was like, come on in. So we sat in his living room and we talked for like 2 hours. And of course, he told me his entire life story. And I said, okay, so I said, tell me a little bit about the facility. And he told me it was 105 units. Okay, 105 units. And it was making, actually, let me share this with you. This is what he showed. This is what he told us. And he said, yeah, here it is. This is the actual deal analyzer. So this isn't like my newest deal analyzer because this is obviously 2 years old, but this is the deal analyzer I used up until just a couple months ago. Okay, so as you can see, he was making, so let's Control Z this. He told me he was making $37,800. That's what he told me he was making. And I said, well, okay, great. I was like, okay, good. And he told me it was 105 units. And it's a total of 9,800 square feet, or almost 10,000 square feet. So, I mean, I know 10,000 square feet should be worth like a lot of money, right? It should be worth almost $1 million nowadays, right? Even when I ran the numbers, it came out to 570. And that was like when I bought this in 2020, or I bought this in 2020. This is like I bought this in 2019, or I can't remember. It was like pre-COVID though. Okay. And so he told me he was making 37,800. And I said, well, can you prove that? He said, no, I can't prove it at all. No. He's like, I have nothing to show you. He's like, I don't know, who's paying or what, I just know that on the tax return, it says 37,800. I said, well, can I have your tax return? He said, no, I can't have a tax return because it has all my other businesses on there, which is typical, like what an owner typically would say, right? No, I've got way too many businesses. No. So essentially when somebody tells you that, you just, you have to pay cash. Right? You have to pay cash for something like this because a bank, or you have to get them to own or finance it, right? Because a bank is not going to finance a deal like this because you have no proof of income, right? And so we went out and we started really looking at this thing. And we actually, it was so funny, Pete was spending time there, and I'll show you some pictures of it. Hang on, if I can find them. Yeah. So this is it. It's actually 2 lots. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings. Okay. And that's us. He sold us 105 units. Let me see what else we got. Any pictures? Yeah, here's some good pictures here. So let me see. What did Pete put here? Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah. So Pete, and this is something that Pete does, is he draws this up. And he kind of he went off of like what he told us, and it kind of drew this little map up here. This is what Sammy told us is what it looked like. It's like a storage facility, right? It's a nice storage facility. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, honestly. I mean, it looks like a nice storage facility. It's my horrible pictures here, but yeah. So that's what it looks like, and actually, I wanted to show you this folder too, just so you kind of had an idea, because this folder, we're privately funded. When we find somebody to lend on a property like this, we just share the folder with the lender. So the lender has access to everything. And then you can see this. Rick watched this video. This is the video that I made for the lender to go over the entire deal. All right. So that's kind of what I do, is I make a folder, and then I'll just, use Loom, and I'll make a video, and I'll go through each of the, whatever I put into the folder, I will just make a video and go through all this. We have a whole bunch of different deals. We have a lot of deal analyzers, because in the end, like what he told us and what actually was happening was like 2 separate things. Okay. What's this thing? Did he give us? Yeah. And he did not print this out. This is something that like Pete put together. And let's see what else. Yeah. So this is looking good. Yeah. So we had a whole bunch of deal analyzers. I'm pretty sure Pete. Oh no, he drew this out. Yeah, he drew this out. He drew the maps. Okay, so he drew a little map for us so that we could put it into storage, and get it all set up. And yeah, and that's really what it looks like. And so we shared this folder with Rick, who's one of my lenders, and he said, "Yeah, I'll lend you the money." And so we, when we talked to Sammy, we told him $275,000 is what we said. He said he wanted 300,000. And I said, would you do 275? That'd really kind of like help us out. And he said, yeah, I really like you, Stacy. I'll do 275. So we put it under contract for 275, and he wanted to have his, attorney close on it. So we just had his attorney close, and then we closed on it. And we closed at the end of the year, like I think 2019, if I can't remember anymore, but we closed on it. We've had it a couple of years. And as we did the due diligence period, and we could not open up hardly any of the units because they were all locked, right? Now, that when units are all locked, right, that means that you should be getting income for that. That's like, that means that you either have it vacant and you should be able to unlock it and like rent the unit, or like it's locked and somebody's stuff is in there, right? Well, that was not the case with Sammy. Okay. Come to find out, after he gave us at closing a stack of his contracts. And then we started calling everybody, and every contract he had, none of them except for one had the right phone number on it. All right. And he had like a stack, probably everybody he had rented to in like the 20 years that he owned the facility, right? And then come to find out, so we had to skip trace, we had to find every owner somehow, we had to go through the whole auction process. And in the end, almost every facility was full of stuff, completely full, and nobody was paying. He was making $400. We collected $400 like for the first couple of months that we owned the facility. Okay. So, essentially it was just totally mismanaged, and he just like ran it to the ground. And, but that was okay, because typically, we expect that anyways, when we buy like severely mismanaged facilities, we expect that we're not going to be making that much money, and we'll just come out of pocket. Personally, we'll come out of pocket to get it up and running. But he had no proof of income. He had no like rent roll. We kind of went through and made a spreadsheet and kind of tried to work through that, contact everybody. We ended up having to at this time, we had started using storageauctions.com, right? And so we used storageauctions.com to go, and we went through the auction process, and we listed all the auctions on storageauctions.com, which was quite a lot of work. It took several months for us to do that, because we had to figure out the owners of every single one of those units. Oh, and another thing that was very interesting was that he told us 105 units, and in the end, it ended up being 120 units. All right. So he didn't even know how many units that he had. So in the end, I think it comes out to about 120 units at 10,000 square feet. All right. So he didn't know the square feet. It was almost 10,000, but he didn't know the number of units that he had. And so it took us this was probably, of all the facilities that we've ever bought, this was the most severely mismanaged facility out there. Okay. And he said that a lot of people had called him and were trying to buy it. He said that he always said $300,000, and nobody after that, nobody would buy it because he couldn't show any proof of income or anything like that. Right. And so that means that you have to come up with $300,000 cash. But the truth is that it takes a lot of work up front. It takes a lot of work up front to do stuff like this. But in the end, we got 120 units, 10,000 square feet for $300,000, which is really good. We should be really, now with the prices the way they are, and especially since we're right on in Valdosta. It's a Valdosta address. Since we're in Valdosta in this secondary market, then the prices at that point, at that point, before COVID, you could see on the Dill Analyzer that they were at, I think this is it. Yeah, see 71 cents a square foot. And it'd be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to look at like the competition. And let me see. And let's do let's do this one. I was going to do this. So now we're going to go back to miscellaneous. I want to just see kind of like what is this one right across from us charging? Would be good to know. You know what I'm saying? This one that's like this big one right across from us. Because I just want to see. It's the King Storage. King's Gate is what it is. So King's Gate. Let's see. I know they have kingsgateselfstorage.com is what it is. Let's see if they have unit sizes and prices. And so they're charging small, medium, and large. You can click here and reserve. Click to call the miss. Click to call no. You see, they made this website up. This is like horrible website. But okay, so you can tell like when they have like a website like this is like they made the website. This is not like an ESS or a storage. Like you see like somebody made this website. It's like so bad. It doesn't give the prices now. You see, it's not giving the prices. So you'd have to call to get the prices. So they took the prices off just because they don't want anybody to be like taking their prices and stuff. Okay. So we can't use that one, obviously, as competition. Let's see, who else can we do competition with? Let me see. Storage Rentals of America is out here now. Man, is this new or was this already here? Let me see. Let me scroll in. Oh, look, are they built? No, I don't think this was, this must have been there. Yeah, this must have been there. Okay, let's look at them and see. What are they charging? Storage Rentals of America. Maybe they have their prices on there. Obviously, we won't be as expensive as them, but you could see, okay, 5x5s are $39. 5x5 small, $28. Oh, these are climate control drive-up access. Okay, so we have 5x10s, $37. I think we're charging $30. So we're like, this is like $30 for us. And then 10x10s, we're at like $100 or like $99. So we're a little bit less than them. And then 10x15, that's climate. Oh, this is climate control. Let's see if we can find some non-climate. Here's 10x10 drive up, $46. Yeah. And then 10x15s are drive up access, $102. Okay, yeah. So maybe that's what it is. We're definitely like way lower than them on this price. And you can see a 10x10 of $46 a month. I mean, when you look at those numbers, that's kind of, you can tell that's like a secondary or like a tertiary market number, right? This one's only $8 a month. And this is parking or what? How do you have first floor parking? 10x30s, 10x30s, 9x, so parking. So drive up access, $94. So yeah, when I look at these prices, these are going to be like kind of right around what we're at actually, because we're less than $100. We're even cheaper than this on these. So, but yeah, so now you can look at this and, whatever the price is that this could be here, then obviously we're going to be more than this for this. But when I ran the numbers, I ran it at 275, and then we can just change this to 4,800. It made 4,800. I ran it at a 10 cap. Can y'all see that? I ran it at a 10 cap. This is back in the day when you could get stuff for like a 10 cap, right? I wonder what it would be at now. What do you think it is? 50% vacant, right? So let's say we're probably at like 20% vacant now, maybe. And we're at like, what do you think it is? 7 cap for Valdosta, right? Yeah. So even if we didn't, like we just didn't raise the rates, if we're still at 71 cents, it comes out to $815,000. Yeah. So what do you think? Is that looking good? I put it at a 7 cap. Do you think that area is a 7 or an 8 cap? What would y'all put it at for the market cap rate? And then, so now we're probably at, I don't know if we're at the 37,500 or, yeah, we're probably more than that. Well, I didn't look at the numbers, but even if we were at the 37,500, oh yeah. And then we have let's just put it back to the 115. Okay. So it's coming out to $815,000 for the value. So if we can get it up to the $77,000 a year, 115 units at 71 cents. It's valued at $813,000. So we bought it at, it looks like we bought it at a, well, we bought it at a -6 cap. That's what we bought. We ended up buying it at a -6 cap. And we're taking it to a 21% cap rate. Right. And then we'll be able to sell it at a 7 cap, maybe, or maybe an 8 cap. Let's just run it at an 8 cap. So if we sold it at an 8 cap, we'd sell it for $700,000. Does that sound about right to y'all? That sounds about right to me. It's gonna be like $700,000 to $800,000, essentially. I was thinking like 900,000. I'm like shooting for 900,000. That's what I'm shooting for on this facility. I mean, 115 units should really be like $900,000. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? And just it really depends on the market cap rate. What is everybody saying in the chat? It'd be good to know. So my point is that make sure that when you're looking for property, that you're looking in the outskirts of secondary markets, because maybe the secondary markets are kind of a little bit bigger players. You see 10 Federal Storage and like, Storage King and stuff, King Gates, right? And every once in a while, you'll find like a little tiny facility in like a secondary market. But then when you get out into the tertiary markets, you can find some good smaller facilities. I mean, if I can triple the value of that property, I typically try and triple the value of my properties like that. That's my mismanaged facilities. That's my goal, right? When I buy the property. Okay. All right, got lots of questions here. So let me start with those. How do you fill it? Okay, so yeah, we either use spare foot or we use we have Google Ads. We have both. We have Google Ads and spare foot is what we have. All right, for this one, because this is, it's like, it's work to get this filled. The secondary market is more work to get filled up than a tertiary market, right? Because there's a lot of competition and stuff. And then primary market's even harder. But we're using Google Ads. We have, obviously we have a sign out there. We have Google Ads, and then we have Sparefoot. Okay, and then what we do, our trick on Sparefoot, so that it's not so expensive, is that we'll just put it at like a lower price. Because with Sparefoot, it costs you at least like 2 times. I think it's like 2 times the amount that they find somebody for you, because Sparefoot, what they do is they market across like all platforms. And if somebody basically puts in like storage Valdosta into Google, Sparefoot is going to pull up your facility and bring it to the top. And then people are going to say like, okay, yes, I'm interested in this one. And then they find the lead for you is what they do. So it does cost money. I mean, I get it. It costs money to do that. So they'll charge like up to 2 times. So then, but what we'll do is we'll just be like, okay, if we'll just charge like, half the price or something. So we only have to pay Sparefoot so much money. And then after a couple of months of them being in, the tenants, then we'll just raise the rent and we'll start raising the rents. We did one property like this where we bought like an abandoned facility, and I think like market rent was $60, and we listed it like for a 10 by 10, we listed it at $40, and we just like filled the facility up in like a couple of months. And then after it was like almost filled, then we started raising the rents. We just raised it like by $10 or something. All right, so that's kind of what we do. And then we had to pay Sparefoot like, $80 to get that $40 tenant in. Okay, so it's kind of expensive. Sparefoot's kind of expensive, but to lease up, Sparefoot's one of the best ways to go. And then also on the side, then you can start really getting your Google Ads going. And then Google Ads should really cost like, $10 to $20 per tenant to get somebody to be filled in. Okay, does that make sense? Do I have an exit plan before I buy my stuff? Yeah. It's either going to be to refi out or sell it or hold it. Those are my exit plans. And every single facility probably has like a different exit plan, right? So just depending on what it is. Now, Valdosta, I mean, for us, like the goal, what we're doing right now is trying to pick up a couple of more facilities, because we need to have like mini portfolios is what we do. Before we sell anything, it's going to be a mini portfolio. Now, as of right now, you tell me if this is a portfolio. We've got 2 in Live Oak, 1 in Waycross, and 1 in Valdosta. So that's about like an hour. This is about an hour. This is about an hour. This is about an hour. So in this triangle, we kind of have 4 facilities, but I'm not sure, like, if I sell this, if somebody's going to want to buy those for 4 facilities. Otherwise, what we were trying to do is pick up a couple more facilities, like kind of in this area as well too, or maybe a couple in this area too. And then that way it could be, if they don't want to get down into Florida. Anyways, that's kind of our mindset. That's our thought process. Okay. You pay spare foot for the lead is what you pay them for. Like, they're going to bring the lead. And if they get it put into your system, because it connects to your back office is what it does. And then if it gets put into your system, into your back office, then they basically take the money out of your account for that. So it's like all kind of automated is what it is. Okay. How much cash flow do you do did you do in the last facility you bought after stabilizing it? We shoot for, honestly, our cash flow is like, we're shooting for 10% cash on cash return or higher. But the truth is like, we're 100% privately funded. So for us, our cash flow is actually pretty good. But that 115 units really should be making, it should be making a minimum of $75,000 is what it was showing on the deal analyzer. But honestly, the truth is it should be making more than that, especially now, because COVID is really just, the average price for a 10 by 10 is 88 cents right now. All right. So just keep that in mind. But you can see that area is kind of really, it's like the outskirts of Valdosta is kind of a poorer area. So you could see even the competition, the prices were kind of lower and stuff. So I think 70 cents a square foot to 70 to 80 cents a square foot is probably going to be like at your highest. So if we're making $80,000 then a year, then essentially it's valued at like, so just like it says, $750,000 to $850,000. Okay. And then our expenses. So like if we're making let's say making $75,000 a year on this facility, our expenses we calculate them at 38%. Okay. So, because we have a lot of overhead. We have like 1,200 doors. So it costs more for us. But so we're running our numbers at 38% for expenses. So you have your income minus your expenses is your NOI, right? And then minus your mortgage, if you have a mortgage. And then that is basically your net income or your cash on cash, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Does that make sense? So your income minus your expenses is your NOI minus your mortgage is going to be what your return is. Okay. So you always want to keep that in mind. You want to look at that when you're looking for facilities. Okay, good. What other questions are there? Did I miss anything else? Did you let the manager go or did you keep her? We let her go. No way we're going to keep her. She answered the phone, hello. And then she didn't even know how many units or anything. When cold calling, what is a good and quick way to filter who we are talking to? Well, trying to figure out if it's an owner or a manager. You can pretty much tell if it's an owner or a manager, honestly, because if they're answering the phone, if they're answering the phone like all professional, then you can kind of tell. But the truth is like, if you can't tell, then just start talking to that person, just, hey, like, I'm interested in the storage facility. And then I always say, hey, I'm interested in your storage facility. And then they say, oh, okay, well, like, are you want a unit or what do you want? It's like, no, I'm like interested in, talking to the owner and, seeing if they're interested in getting an offer. And then, office managers obviously will either be okay with that or like freak out and be like, no, they never want to sell. All right. And do most of the leads actually lease? Do you still pay if the person leaves? No, if they do not lease, then you do not pay them. You only pay them if it actually gets rented, if the unit gets into your system, right, as rented. Okay. Is there an off-the-shelf property management program that is good for smaller facilities? There's either ESS or storage. All right. We use storage is what we do. Storage is what it's called. Okay. Now, so I have lots of training on the course and in my course on all the questions that you're asking. So remember that you can always use the link. Every week we have a link for a discounted price to the course. And then you will get access to, like, me taking you through just like this, but step by step, like how to get started in self-storage investing. So make sure you check that out so that you can get the $1,000 off. And the deal analyzer comes inside the course as well too. Okay, so that you can start, that deal analyzer will come in. You can start running your numbers, playing with your numbers, and really kind of learning whether or not it's a good deal. And there's also a management section in the course too. So all the questions about spare foot and like managing and softwares and stuff like that, they're all in the course. Okay, all right. I'm going to jump off. I'm now headed over to my fund. It's stacyrossetti.com/fund. So if you're interested in being a passive investor instead of actually doing all the work, then hop on and listen to the pitch. It's for accredited investors. All right. So if you're an accredited investor, hop on and listen to me. But everybody else, I will see you guys next Monday at the next session. Okay. All right. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.